2025 to order. Lisa and Jamie are our two staffers on today. We'll have them running the streaming and recording the meeting. You should hear that recording note shortly. I just want to note... This
conference will now be recorded.
There we go. Thank you. So I just want to make a note that as we get into this meeting today, it is almost certainly to be our last time together, or at least very close to it. Last sort of large substantive meeting. And as you know, as we move through our wind down process, our staff levels are diminished, and we've got only two of our staff here today helping us out. So I'll ask for your patience if there are any challenges on the technical or streaming end, and we may take a few moments as we transition between different aspects of the agenda. And again, with our eternal thanks to Lisa and Jamie for your work through obviously very challenging times. And as we get started, Lisa, are we streaming? Are we up and going? All right, thumbs up there. All right, so I will start today then with, as we always should, in a good way, with a land acknowledgement, and talking about respectful relationships, creating opportunity for all, and ensuring that we never forget that this territory has been occupied for thousands of years by a myriad of rich cultures, traditions, and deep respect for the land. It's important to recognize that our land acknowledgement practices will continue to evolve as we continue to learn and travel together on a journey of reconciliation. And today's meeting, we have the great honor of listening to and hearing stories from Indigenous communities as part of the CMRB's commitment to reconciliation and the Indigenous Relations program. And Anne Harding has joined us today and will present the summary story from the Indigenous Community Conversations initiatives. So some of those stories, I know that you have read them as part of the preparation for today's board meeting, are very powerful. We look forward to hearing from you and from the Indigenous peoples who we share our community with. And in that spirit, I offer today's land acknowledgement, honoring the history of the original people of this land, including the traditional territories of the peoples of the Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta, including the Blackfoot First Nation tribes of Siksika, Cooney, Kainai, Stoney Nakoda First Nations of Chiniki, Bearspaw, Wesley, and Stina First Nation. The City of Calgary is also home to the Pemmiswak Battle River Territory, and CMRB members reside in the Calgary Nose Hill and Calgary Elbow Métis districts. We're also situated, all of us, on land near to where the Bow River meets the Elbow. And the traditional Blackfoot name of this place, as we know, is Mokinstis. And we acknowledge all nations, Indigenous and non, who live, work, play, and honor this land as we celebrate together this territory. And with that, I have nothing further to add in terms of opening remarks. Anyone wish, please, to adopt the agenda, unless there are any changes, edits, amendments, corrections? Mayor Brown moves the adoption of the agenda. Do we have a second? Mayor Janun. Any debate or discussion on adoption of the agenda? Seeing none. Anyone wishing to vote opposed to adoption of the agenda? That carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Same question for the consent agenda, which is comprised of the board minutes from our last meeting on February 7th, 2025, and the governance committee meeting minutes of January 31, 2025. Anyone have any either of those items wish to move to the full agenda for consideration or discussion? And if none, may I have a motion, please, to approve the consent agenda? Mayor Thorne, thank you very much. Do we have a second? Mayor Gondek. Any debate or discussion? And anyone wishing to vote opposed to adoption of the consent agenda? Seeing, hearing none, that carries unanimously. Thank you very much. And as previously noted, we are now into Indigenous Relations Phase 3, the Community Conversations program. Anne Harding is here with us today. Hello, Anne. Welcome. And on behalf of CMRB, we just want to offer our thanks. I'm going to turn it over first, please, to Jamie Graves, who is going to give us a bit of an introduction and summary of the project. Jamie, go ahead.
Thanks, Chair Clark. Good morning, board members. I'm honored today to provide you a brief background this morning on the summary, the Indigenous Relations Community Circle Conversations summary story. The board approved project charter for the Indigenous Relations work in 2024 and 2025 included 4 key themes, continuing with those from previous years. Those were dialogue, co-creation, commitment to learning, and celebrating the indigeneity of the region. And as part of the dialogue theme, circle conversations were organized for Indigenous identifying community members in the Calgary Metro region to share their experiences with municipal government and uncover potential opportunities for strengthening connections and relationships. And in early Q3 of 2024, so the fall, 38 Indigenous identifying community members expressed an interest in sharing their thoughts. And so participants identified as First Nations from a Treaty 7 nation, First Nations folks from outside of Treaty 7, Métis, as well as Inuit. Invitations for circle conversations were sent, and 2 events were organized prior to the announcement of the minister in November. And although the CMRB is winding down, the board's acknowledgement of this summary story will contribute to initiatives that live on beyond the CMRB, potentially things like the Canada Public Transit Fund Metro Region Agreement application and others. The results of the community conversations are presented here in story form, and they are intended for use by the members in local and regional engagement activities going forward in and around the CMR. Today we have with us a familiar face. Anne Harding is here with us, owner of Forum Community Relations, to share more about the process and the findings, and is a community and Indigenous engagement professional based in Calgary. Thank you, Chair Clark, and I'll pass it on to Anne now.
Thanks so much, Jamie, and thank you everybody for having me and for receiving this report today. I know there's many pressing matters, and so I appreciate having a bit of time on the agenda to ensure that the voices are heard. And so, as Jamie said, this was work that was originally planned last fall prior to the announcement. We had, because of the amount of interest that we had from Indigenous community members, we were going to have additional sessions in January, but those were canceled. And so what you have in front of you is the summary from the conversations that took place in November and early December. They're shared in not a typical, I would say, engagement reporting format. So not your standard what we heard report, but really as we explore what it means to decolonize engagement and embrace other ways of doing things than the standard way that things are typically done in municipal government. We share this as a story to really reflect the stories and histories and identities of those who contributed. So hopefully we're able to hear those voices and perspectives and lived experiences as they came through. The focus of the conversation was on transportation and transit experiences, as I know those conversations will continue beyond the CMRB. And certainly are needed. Conversations around regional transportation were, those experiences were highlighted, and as well as ways to get around. So hopefully those are carried forward. I want to highlight maybe just the 4 main recommendations that came through that are found at the end of the story, and then happy to open it up for questions or comment. So the first being to build relationships. I think standard practice has been for municipalities to build relationships with, I'm going to say, recognized organizations or governments. So on that government to government basis with local nations or with Indigenous organizations or their leadership. Those are important, but what we found hearing the voices of, I'm going to say just citizens, was that there are missing perspectives in that approach. And so a desire for more perspectives to come to the table than those that are reflected through formal organizations or structures. The second is reviewing policy decisions that have been made, I'm going to say, with an Indigenous lens. So having perspectives, there might be blind spots that the wonderful people working in your administrations might have because they're limited by their own experience. And so bringing in Indigenous folks to share how different policy decisions might have had unintended consequences because of different circumstances, I think that can help make better decisions. And so recommending that for future work within your municipalities. Continuing the work in regional transportation planning alongside Indigenous nations, as I think I was rereading this morning, saying that the desire for connection to the nearby reserves is palpable. You could feel that in the conversations of we would love to be able to connect between the local nations and the municipalities. And so really investing in exploring how that happens alongside the Indigenous governments in and around the region. And then the last one is just really intentionally seeking Indigenous input and participation to help shape those decisions. People know when they feel tokenized. And that has been a common experience for Indigenous people in the region within existing structures. And so I think just putting additional effort into the continuity of conversation so that it's not, we invited you to this one place and you shared your input and we took what we liked and left what we didn't, and we didn't ever tell you how that went. But really finding those ways to continue those conversations and relationship building on an ongoing basis, which ultimately will help build that trust and result in better feedback and more collaborative approaches along the way. So that's sort of just my intro and summary to the story. The last, I guess, request I'll make is that if your municipalities do end up taking anything that you heard or read in this story and using that to consider or pursue or take action, if you could let me know so I can let the people who participated know that their voices didn't go unheard or that their participation did make a difference. I know it wouldn't be through the CMRB, but you all have my contact information. So I would just really appreciate that ability to feedback to folks again to show that they were heard and that they mattered. So thank you, Chair Clark.
Okay, thank you, Anne. I really appreciate it. First up, Deputy Reeve Koken from Rocky View. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. The 38 members that participated in providing their feedback, did they represent a pretty good cross-section of all the Indigenous community groups in the area?
So it was 38 folks who wanted to participate. We could actually only take 18 in who we heard from. But from those 38, yes, we had folks who identified with the Treaty 7 nations in the region, with Métis, as well as many who were from First Nations from right across Canada, who we know live in our municipalities as well. So I would say there was a good cross-section, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for that. Any other questions or feedback, comments for Anne? Mayor Gondek, go ahead.
Hi, thanks very much for the presentation and for doing this work, Anne. One of the things that's contained...
Sorry, Mayor Gondek, I apologize. We can't hear you very well. I don't know if maybe you can turn up your microphone or just project a bit or lean in. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Is this any better?
A little bit. Yeah.
Okay, you know what? Don't worry. It's something I can... can you not hear me at all?
Well, we've got you sort of at like a 3 out of 10, let's say. I think we can hear you. I would say go ahead.
I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, just...
Okay, thanks. And one of the things that's in that report is the difficulty to access fair entry. And the point that's made is if you haven't filled out your income taxes, you're not going to be able to prove that you need that service. That's something that we've heard across our homeless serving agencies in Calgary. And so one of the things that the city is going to be working on or looking at is a recommendation to provide support to folks who have not filed taxes and still need access to the program. So I just wanted to let you know that it's something that's been flagged for us. But if we could connect with you as a city to make sure that we are accomplishing this in the way Indigenous communities want to see it, I would appreciate that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
It's good information. Thank you very much, Mayor Gondek. Anyone else? And if there are none, I'll just pick up again. I think, Anne, the last point you made that as we wind down CMRB, the team felt it was very important that we had you come and present this to the board, that we could make sure we honored and respected the submissions and contributions that were made. That's not certainly always an easy thing, I think, for Indigenous people and communities historically have not been heard, and there's, I think, some justifiable hesitation there, can be. And so kudos to you and to the team for facilitating that process, and with our sincere thanks. And just a reiteration of what Anne said, feel free to reach out anytime to Anne on this, or frankly anything else as it relates to Indigenous relations. I know that in each of our member municipalities there is active work happening in each and every one. Some of that's collaborative within and between municipalities as well. And this is important work, and certainly encourage everyone to continue down that path of reconciliation. And just one more time around the table, is there anything else anyone wishes to share? And if not, I will invite, please, a motion that the board approve the Indigenous Relations Phase 3 Community Conversations Summary Story. May I have that motion, please? Mayor Dean, thank you very much. Do we have a second? Mayor Gondek, thank you. Any further debate or discussion on that? And I will ask for all those in favor, please. And any opposed? None opposed. Carries unanimously. Thank you so much. And we, again, with our sincere thanks for all your work that you've done with and for the Indigenous communities and the CMRB. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, on to the next agenda item. Calvin Scott, Sarah Gedleman from Avail LLP are joining us to talk about our 2024 draft audited financial statements. Lisa, if you could perhaps do a brief introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have too much to say. I wanted to hand over the microphone to Calvin Scott, who is our auditor and has been our auditor for a long time now. And everything was looking good from his perspective, but I will let you tell him more about that. And I just wanted to advise that this is the 2024 audit, and we will be doing a 4-month 2025 audit just to help us understand and ensure that the wind down happened appropriately and with the endorsement of the board. So thank you very much. I'll turn it over to Calvin and Sarah. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you for having us. I know you have a very robust agenda to get to, so we'll be brief today. What we'll run through today will cover just the independent auditor's report, and we'll run through the financial results. So for the independent auditor's report, we had a clean opinion. So that says that these financial statements are presented fairly in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards. It also says that management is responsible for the financial statements, that the board is responsible for management oversight, and as auditors, we are responsible for identifying and assessing any material misstatements, understanding your controls, evaluating your policies and estimates, concluding on the going concern assumption, so your ability to continue on into the future, and evaluate the presentation of those financial statements. So no issues with any of those. We do have a disclosure note that we will be winding up. I won't run through that today, but that is in the financial statements for you. The first thing we'll touch on, of the two things we'll touch on, the statement of operations. So how did we do this year? Overall, we had a deficit this year of about $154,000. So generally in the past, I would tell you that the revenues would come in would be Alberta Municipal Affairs revenues. We would fund all of the expenses with those revenues, and your net income would generally be the interest revenue less the amortization, two amounts that wouldn't be covered by the Alberta Municipal Affairs funding. This year, we ran through all of the municipal affairs funding, and then we started dipping into our net assets, previous funds that were in here. So overall, this year, we had some revenues were down, about $434,000. Interest revenue was up, however, as we got into some GICs early in the year prior to having the interest rates dip by a couple points. So we had some good interest revenue this year. On the expense side, our expenses were down about $253,000. So we saw a decrease in consulting fees this year. Some of the studies were delayed. project scopes, budget refinements happened, and with the changes, a lot of programs didn't go, so consulting fees came down. We saw professional fees increase this year. So we had costs relating to hiring a new CO, some dispute resolution, some contract review, which increased those professional fees. Rent was down as we had the first half of the year was rent free due to the change in occupancy this year. And we'll also see that office came down with moving costs last year, and travel and professional development were higher last year, having 3 people go to the APPI conference, which did not occur this year. The conference occurred, but we did not have 3 people going to it, so we'll see lower expenses there. So for the year, we had a deficit of $154,000. That leaves us with the statement of financial position and where we're at as of the end of the year. Cash is up. All of the GICs came through, would have matured and moved to cash, and then we would have funded that deficit this year with cash as well. So we'll see an increase there mainly because of the transfer of the GICs. There was one GIC left at the end of the year, so we'll see the $26,000 there. That matured March 6th, so that would have been just last week. Would have come due, and that will be sitting in cash now and not reinvested in GIC. I make that statement without confirmation, but I absolutely assume that's what happened. The payables came down this year. So during the year, vacation accrual is what this is mainly made up of, and that would have been paid out this year with the transitioning CO. And otherwise, we're sitting on an accumulated operating surplus of $1.8 million. So this is essentially what you're left with at the end of 2024. And the majority of this will be what you discuss later on as far as distributions in the future and what happens with your organization. Other than the financial statements, we had no issues to bring to your attention for management letter, no significant issues whatsoever. We had no indications of fraud, had no issues with management whatsoever, and there are no significant changes that will affect the next stub year audit. So it was a good, clean audit as per usual. Even with the changes going on, it was very smooth, and your team did a wonderful job, and they were always great to work with. So I'd like to thank them as well. And that's the end of the presentation for you. Questions?
All right, Calvin, thank you. Thank you so much. I will turn it over to the board if there are any questions or comments. Deputy Reeve Koken, go ahead.
Yeah, I noticed that at the very beginning of your slide, the first slide, you had member contributions of $234,016. Is that for 2025 some member contributed?
That would have been the budgeted amount. So that didn't actually occur, but it was included in the budget.
Okay, so it never did occur.
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions, Deputy Reeve? Oh, that was just your from before. Any other questions or comments for Calvin or Sarah? Okay, if there are none, I would invite a member to please move that the board approve the 2024 audited financial statements. Mayor Brown, seconded by Reeve Kissel. Any debate or discussion? And all those in favor? Any opposed? Seeing, hearing none, carries unanimously. Thank you. And Calvin and Sarah, with our thanks, I have been through a number of audits with the two of you, and also just in general, having gone through this process with other organizations as well. I echo that it's been great working with you as well. I think we have a good, strong professional relationship. I can also attest to the fact that you are thorough. So there, no stone does in fact go unturned. So that is obviously a very important part of an audit, if occasionally uncomfortable, but we do ultimately get to the right answers. So with our sincere thanks, we will do this one more time for the final 4 months of 2025. And with that, we will excuse you and offer our thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for having us. Enjoy the rest of the meeting.
All right. Be well. Okay, so we are going to now move into closed session. We'll just take a moment here to both stop the recording and
This conference will now be recorded.
Good, thank you. And are we live streaming as well?
1 second.
1 second, all right.
Not quite yet, Mr. Chair.
Okay, no. Doing yeoman's work with the two folks you've
We
got.
are now ready.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so we are back out of closed session. We have some motions arising. I wonder if a member may wish to make motions that you see on the screen. Anyone care to make that motion, or any other discussion? Mayor Thorne, are you moving the motion, or do you wish to?
Nope, I'll make the motion as displayed on the screen, please.
All right. Mayor Thorne moves. Do we have a second? Mayor Brown. Any debate or discussion on those motions? No debate or discussion. I will invite then a vote, please. All those by show of hands. All those in favor. Any opposed? None opposed. Carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay. Any other motions arising? So motion on the screen here. Does anyone wish to move this or another motion? Mayor Gondek moves. Do we have a second? Mayor Thorne. Okay. Any debate or discussion, please, on the motion? Mayor Brown, go ahead.
I won't be supporting this motion. This board, who moved unanimously to dissolve the CMRB, the same members now are voting to create another board. We have no idea, none, what this may or may not look like. Further, I have no permission from my council to suggest otherwise. We dissolved the CRP because it was a failure, because the rules were not at the table. As soon as the conversations became about planning or governance that they didn't like, they left. And now we're doing the same thing again. As long as we like it, we'll stay. If we don't like it, we're not going to. And we're going to make a fuss and let everybody else know that 5% of the population doesn't agree with doing it the right way the first time. We're going to fight it all the way tooth and nail. Now we're moving into actually designating funds for something else that may or may not work. Makes zero sense to me. Absolutely opposed, and I would encourage other members to support voting against this motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mayor Gondek, you're up. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. The reason that I'm in favor of this, and I believe that it's a strong signal that we as a region understand the value of economic development, is because we already have a group in Invest Greater Calgary where our officers of economic development in each of our municipalities, all of our municipalities, have agreed to work together for economic benefit for the region. We understand that there is a strong desire and a strong interest from companies that are wishing to locate in the region. And one of the biggest things they have said to us every time we meet with prospects, they enjoy the fact that they are not seeing regional competition, they are seeing regional collaboration. And that makes them feel like finding a home in the Calgary region will lead to their success. And because we have that great body already up and running, I'm proposing that we stay united as a group of elected officials to provide the governance that's needed to see this through. We need to make sure that we are looking at economic benefit for all of our municipalities, because ultimately the people we serve really need that from us at this point in time. When so much is uncertain with trade relations, let's make sure we're strengthening the Calgary region and increasing opportunities for business to locate here and create jobs for the people that we serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Gondek. Any further comment? Reid Miller, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So the difference for me is there is no longer a mandatory requirement here. This is voluntary, which is what we were always against with the prior board. There's also no restrictive planning component attached to this. This is a voluntary goodwill. Let's get together and talk about economic development. Nothing more. This has nothing to do with the prior board, and I guess I would be remiss if I didn't mention the huge difference with what we're trying to do today as collaboratively working together on a voluntary basis as member municipalities in the region was always what we had pushed for. Thanks.
Thank you, Reeve Miller. Reeve Kissel, you're up. Go ahead.
Thank you, through the chair. So, I do hear Mayor Brown, I do understand your frustration with this, but I again would like to reiterate, these are not equal. These are not the same thing. This is something we're going to choose to do, and we're going to choose to benefit the region, but we're not going to police each other on what we're building. There are processes. If you're unhappy with something, there's a process in place for that. If your neighbors are building something you're not happy with. But this gives us an opportunity to see who can help who when a project comes through. And we all know Prairie Gateway has been approved and it's moving forward. And there's a lot more conversation that needs to be had on a regional plate to see they're going to have a lot of needs. And how can we work together to make sure that everybody gets the opportunity to serve some of those needs, and that will benefit themselves. But the Prairie Gateway is going to benefit the region, whether we decide to do this or not. That's just how it works. But I think we're way further ahead if we can figure out how to economically work together and feel that we are all contributing to the region. But voluntary makes a difference. It changes how you play at the table.
Thank you, Reeve Kissel. Do we have any other questions or comments? Anyone wishes to weigh in on the motion before us? Mayor Snodgrass, go ahead.
Yeah, more so just to test my mic because I haven't said anything yet. So just back to what Peter was saying, let's remember the province is the one that actually killed this whole thing. The Foothills and Rocky View lobbied for it, but it is our provincial government that does not see value in the work that we were doing. So the end of the day, we're wide open to seeing where this thing goes and what it can look like in the future. If the province doesn't want to be part of it, then so be it. But we're wide open, and I'm supporting the motion on the floor. So.
Thank you very much, Mayor Snodgrass. Anyone else wish to weigh in on this? Any other comments or questions? All right. If there are none, we have a motion made by Mayor Gondak, seconded by Mayor Thorne, that the board directs CMRB administration to draft a conditional grant agreement outlining granting the remaining CMRB financial assets to be held in trust by the City of Calgary, the funds to be used for a facilitator and other regional initiatives as determined at the regional table, and that the funds be held in trust until a regional table is established. If no regional table is established by December 2025, that the remaining funds are granted to the Calgary Regional Economic Development Initiative, known as Invest Greater Calgary. Mayor Gondak and Mayor Thorne, if you don't mind, I wonder if perhaps we put an actual day on that December 2025. That could be read as it's November 30th is the deadline. It could be read as December 31st. Do we want a specific day in there?
December 31st works. I'll take that as a friendly if you're okay with that, Mayor Thorne.
Okay, so that is now reads December 31, 2025. The rest of the motion that you see on your screen stands. That is the motion before us. I will ask for please a vote, show of hands. All those in favor? Okay, and those opposed? Okay, that motion carries. A vote of 6-2. Okay. Thank you very much for that. Any other motions arising or anything coming out of closed session? And if there are none, we will move on to our next agenda item. Okay, Lisa, to you for our next agenda item being per diems and final meeting protocols. And I've got some other brief comments here to make as well. But Lisa, we'll turn it over to you.
There we go. I got it up. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our final item today is the discussion about the per diems and the final meeting protocols. We just wanted to let the board know that we are unable to process any of the per diems past Friday, March 21st, which is a week from today. So if you have per diems remaining from 2025, if you could please submit them, that would be excellent. If we do have another board meeting, no per diem will be provided. However, it would be an online meeting. So we trust that will be acceptable to the board. As well, we will try and conduct as much business online through our email vote procedure. But if we do need another meeting, we can have another meeting. It just will not be streamed, but it would be recorded and posted on our website for the time that our website remains available. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Lisa. Just a reminder of our process around email voting and online meetings. Per the MGA, we need to provide 24 hours public notice for any meeting. If we did find a need to get together in short notice, generally speaking, we will provide a week of notice before we get together if we decide and deem it necessary. But we do have the ability and flexibility to meet with only 24 hours notice if need be. The email voting procedure, once a motion is made and seconded via reply all email to all board members, you have 5 days to respond to that email with a vote either for or against. If we're in that position, which we will be to approve the final granting agreements here through the month of April, I would ask that we endeavor to try to do that in less than 5 days if we get to that point. The window is open for 5. If all 8 votes are received before the end of the 5 days, of course, the voting period will end. So just a reminder of the process there. Any other questions or comments on final meeting protocols or per diems? Okay, I'll ask please then for a motion that the board review and receive for information the final per diem and expense submission and final board meeting protocols. Motion please for that. Mayor Janung, thank you. Do we have a second? Mayor Gondek, thank you. Any debate or discussion on that? And all those in favor by a show of hands, please. And any opposed? None. Carries unanimously. Okay. Anything for roundtable while we're still together here? Okay. Well, this is likely to be certainly our last public meeting. Mayor Thorne, you're up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, last meeting. So thank you, to all of my colleagues around the table. I always learn something from all of you at every meeting. And then thank you to our chair and staff. You're doing a lot of heavy lifting to move a process forward that wasn't in your job descriptions. So I really appreciate the work that you're doing and the commitment you've had to this organization. You are valued members of our team, and I am grateful for the opportunity to have worked and learned from all of you. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Tanya. Peter, go ahead.
Ditto to Mayor Thorne. Thank you for that, Tanya.
Yeah, Mayor Janung, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Echo what previous 2 colleagues are saying. Staff, thank you. Chair, thank you. And I can't help but say I'm disappointed that we're here today. It's, and I don't want to rehash all of that. We know why and how. I hope our region can get its act together and work collaboratively together in the future. And I think the best for our residents is that we lock our arms together instead of the opposite. So I look forward to some of those discussions. But it's been a journey. Let's put it that way. From someone, I think Mayor Brown and I were one of the only two, and Mayor Snodgrass. I think the three of us are the lone wolves from the inception to the end, outside of staff, of course. But a lot of interesting meetings, a lot of fur flew at times, and here we are. So, thank you. I look forward to what the future brings.
Thanks, Mayor Gondak, go ahead.
I think so much has been said, and I just want to contribute by saying, as one of the relative newer kids on this club, I have appreciated all of the insights that I've heard. I think we have come a long, long way from the times that we were at odds with each other, just trying to be protectionist of our own municipalities. I think we've learned a lot along the way, and I appreciate and respect all the relationships we've built. I am quite confident that economic development is something we can achieve together. And I think it's because all of us understand that that's the best way to serve our citizens, to make sure that we're looking out for their collective best interests. So thank you all. Learned a great deal. And to the team at CMRB, my goodness, I too wish we weren't in this position, but you have been outstanding. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Lise, I don't want to put you on the spot, but by asking you, I guess this is officially putting you on the spot. Anything you want to say? And you are absolutely entitled to say no, thank you. I should have checked before I just asked, but here we are. So go ahead. If you'd like.
Well, I mean, of course. Thank you to all of you, all of the elected officials that have been involved in the CMRB now and over the years, and to all the staff members. We've worked with so many different staff members, and everybody always has something great to add. It's been truly, a great learning experience. I'm, of course, a little bit sad and misty-eyed that I didn't get to perform this role a little bit longer and get to know you all a little bit better. But I'm sure we will cross paths in the future, and I wish you all well. And it's been just a really, as Mayor Chadang aptly said, sometimes the fur has flew, but I really do think our relationships have all deepened, and our respect for each other is all deepened. And I have appreciated you all. So thank you for your good direction and your commitment to good governance and making the region a better place. So, but we'll see each other soon. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, I'll close out the meeting just by echoing all of that. Thank you very much to Lisa and to Jamie, who are here in the meeting with us, to Shelley, Scott, Jordan, JP, everybody who's worked as part of the CMRB staff team. You guys are amazing. You provided incredible briefing notes. The definition of grace under pressure, really a skeleton team, and very honored to get to know you and to work with you. It really has been a privilege. And I feel exactly the same about each of you, board members, the staff on your teams I've had the opportunity to interact with, but in particular, each of you as leaders in your communities who've stepped up to take a lot of flack in a very, very difficult time to be a leader. It's an extraordinarily difficult time to be a leader in general, and it's doubly difficult to be a leader in elected office. I reflect even in the last 5 years just how much has changed. Doesn't look like it's getting a whole lot better anytime soon. I hope against hope that it does, in fact, and there's a recognition of the importance of working together as communities. And I will just end on reflecting on all the positive things that have happened around this table, virtually and in person. I do think we've deepened relationships. The overwhelming number of things that came before this board, there was agreement. Even where we weren't on the same page at the beginning, by the end, I think you often ended up there. A genuine willingness in most cases, most of the time, to want to find a common ground. So kudos to all of you for that. It has been a real honor and a privilege to be part of it. Look forward to keeping in touch with each of you and wish you the best. Still some more work to do here, but as we say our goodbyes, I wish you all the very, very best. And with that, unless there's anything further from anyone, the agenda being